Come on in, let's go. Crown steady, third eye blazing. Now memory in the mirror, self-lit in your spine. The ancestors, which ancestors are whispering, whispering. No flex, just recognition. Power seeks power and sits down. There's no competition here, only alignment. All of the mass will fall. Truth breathes, strength multiplies. Praise be. Ashe, Ashe, Aho. Come on. Strengthen your posture, your rising shade. Well, Ashe. Ashe, Aho. How are you guys? I'm back. This is part 2 of what did the ancients teach. Okay, so like I said, we're going to go into this slow, because what I need for you to understand is, and to overstand and to understand how we're approaching this. Okay, so all of you that are starting out, you won't have to, we can keep flowing along. Those that come in will have to go back to these videos to understand and to overstand what it means to actually ascend spiritually, to be taught properly. So what it means when I say y'all out here touching things y'all ain't got no business to be touching, what I'm talking about, so I don't be sounding all harsh and, inconsiderate of others, because that's not what I'm out here to do. I just have a mandate on my life to be out here to teach and to show people what it means, no matter what part of life you in, no matter what construct of life you come from, how to flow and how to build foundation. And a lot of that foundation I talked about in the last video. Okay, so we are going to ascend. Okay, so lean in, because we stepping past the doorway. Okay, and we are coming into this thing. Okay, so we talked about in the last one, I ended with some esoteric knowledge of what we will be learning, how to carry words, how to carry weight, transformation, how to heal and organize. Okay, so I want to get deeper into these lessons, so that your memory can wake up, so that your nervous system can flow, so that you're actually gradually moving in the right direction, so to speak. Okay, all right, so since the welcome speech is done, now we're going to move into the mechanics of thing. This is where most people tap out. Okay, because mysticism sounds sexy and appealing to the ear, until it's time for discipline. Okay, all right, as soon as discipline enters the room, people want to drop the ball and just continue with what they know. They don't want to go deeper. Okay, they may have read some books, okay, and they'll go off of them books but not really have the spiritual foundation. Okay, so since you're still here and you watched the last video and you're watching this video, that means that you are already signed and sealed and ready to flow into the contracts that you signed before you even came here to this realm, before you were even born. Okay, all right, so the ancients never looked at the human beings the way modern culture does. Okay, today. Or even then. Okay, today people think that we are a personality walking around inside a body trying to survive the world. Nah, that ain't it, baby. Okay, this is surface level illusion when you think like that. We're just personalities walking around. Okay, all right. The old schools, what they saw the human as a walking temple grid. Okay, as an instrument that had many layers, like an onion. Okay, and people will reference onions from time to time when it comes to having layers of your life, or layers of your personality, or layers of grief. Okay. They flesh, bone, breath, electricity, memory, spirit, and star fire, all braided in one. Okay, that's what the ancients saw. Okay, as the human, as walking temple grid, flesh, bone, breath, electricity, memory, spirit, and star fire, all braided in one together. Okay, there was 33 vertebrae. Okay, stacked. Okay, the lungs. Okay, they on Jacob's ladder. If you're familiar with the Bible, Jacob was in the wilderness, laid his head down on a rock, had a dream, and seeing angels ascending and descending on that ladder. Well, that's the same way that our spine, it flows. Okay, the spine isn't just autonomy; it's a stairway. Each segment of the spine is a gate. Each gate carries a current. Okay, and when the ancients talked about resurrection, they were not talking about graveyards. They were not talking about power rising through the spine, waking the sleeping king inside the skull. Okay, that way in the brain, the sacred chrism, okay, the consciousness, okay, the old Nazarene priest knew about it. And when the body is disciplined, breath, okay, steady mind, clear, that oil descends down the spine and then rises again. Okay, that is the real anointing, not somebody tapping your forehead. Okay, okay, it is your own biology crowning you. Okay, so I need you guys to understand that. This is why the prophets and spiritual priests, the monks, the shamans fasted, They controlled their breath. They isolated themselves in forests. The yogis sat still for years like Buddha, okay? They were refining that circuit, okay, within themselves, okay? And then we have the tree of life. Okay, the tree of life, the old Hebrew map, is not floating in the clouds somewhere. Okay, I just want to get that out there. It's inside of your nervous system, and there's 10 spheres, 10 living stations of consciousness which flow throughout your body. Okay, we start at Keter. Okay, all right, then we go to Chokmah, Bina, Chesed. Okay, Gevurah, Tiferet, Nisat, Had, Yasad. Okay, and Makuth. And the Keter is the crown. Okay, it is a spark of Yahweh. Okay, the pure signal before thought was even formed. Okay, Chokmah is the lighting flash of creativity. And you may hear some of these words and think about chakras. Well, they're not the same, but they flow the same in retrospect. Okay, we have Bina, which is the cosmic womb, where form begins to take place. Okay, and holding your DNA, your blueprint. Okay, and then you have Chesed, which is the mercy, the expansion, generosity. Okay, the heart of the king. Okay, Gevurah, which is your discipline, your boundary, your sacred fire. Okay, we're going to learn all about this. Tiferet, the solar throne. Nizak, your emotional ocean. And Had, the intellect, language, and symbols, the storyteller, the analyst, the one who gives things names. Okay, these are not only frequencies, these are names of God. These are names of deities. These are sacred gates and names to unlock 6 different realms within the spirit realm. Okay, and I'll teach you some prayers with these names in it as well. You have Had, the intellect language. Like I said, you have your Sad, which is your dream gate. The subconscious, the moon mirror, where images are born before you walk into reality. Then you have Makuth, which is where the root lies, right? Where your root chakra is. And that is the kingdom, the body, the earth, the physical world, where all that are invisible architecture becomes matter. Okay? So you have the 10 spheres, which I just named, but they are not stacked like steps. They are vibrating all inside of you all the time. And I do which is called prophetic mapping. And I'll tell you one thing, when I do the prophetic mapping, how these spheres lines up depends on your cosmic footprint, your cosmic DNA. Okay? All right? So there's 22 paths, which are between those, okay, and they are states of consciousness in the mind walks through during your growth. Each one is a lesson, and each one is a doorway, okay? Those 22 paths, they line up with the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, okay? So it's so much that goes into that, and I will take you through that as we learn, but this is what the ancients learned, okay? This is how they manifested, okay, and taught how to stabilize and how to understand and overstand who you are, okay? So that you did not come out here and crash and burn. So that you were not out here hurting people, harming people, okay? All right? You know, so you were out here becoming who you were supposed to be becoming. And there's so many people that's out here today that are just hurting people because they're hurt, because they have not learned the dynamics of spirituality, of the spirit realm, or how to move and ascend properly in the spirit realm, okay? And that's dangerous, okay? Very dangerous for us to be out here just dilly-dallying and not learning and not excelling, just thinking that we can just do whatever we want to do, and that we treat divine as some kind of genie in a lamp instead of actually learning the fundamentals. Or I read it in a book, so I'm gonna go by the book, but I don't gotta pray, I don't gotta fast, I don't have to meditate. I can just do it on my own level and my own intellect. No, that is not how this works, okay? All right? They talked about the planets. They taught about the planets, okay? When the ancients watched the sky, they were watching the weather of consciousness, okay? And if you know the sky, you know the seasons of the soul, okay? All right, that is why the prophets spoke about timing, not prediction, not circus stuff, but pattern recognition. They could see when the empires were about to fall, okay? Because of the energetic cycles lined up within the sky, within the clouds, within the thunder clouds, okay? And I know people think I'm crazy when I'm out there and I can smell the weather and I can smell something coming in the air, and they're like, what do you mean? And I know that old folks used to say it all the time, and I was raised by my old heads, my greats, but as you move, even if I wasn't raised by them, you know, as you move through spirit, these are just the senses that open up in you, because you learn how to sit in stillness, for one. So when you sit in stillness, you regulate your nervous system, okay? And you are able to, sorry, my dogs are loud, you are then able to regulate your nervous system. You are able to heal and move the things that don't no longer serve you within yourself. You know, sometimes we have moods and, you know, go through, you know, many different conundrums on our own, okay? But you learn that balance so that you're in tune to not only what's happening naturally, but you're in tune to what's happening spiritually. And that is very important, the balance, okay? It's not always coming out here just performing Okay, all right. Like I said, I put my diadems, but you can meet me any day of the week, and this is me. And honey, you may see this one a million times because she's my favorite one. Okay, and I have many of them, but they're not for show. They're for spiritual adornment. That's just who I am. But you don't have to put on a show. It's not about competition. And the ancients wasn't about competition. So you have a lot of people today. I'm Muslim, I'm Hindu, I'm this and the third, and you see a lot of division. But baby, Yeshua, Thoth, Isis, all of them cross paths. You feel what I'm saying? Like all those spiritualities crossed paths, and baby, they understood their assignment. They were not out here fussing and fighting over what is right, what is wrong. They understood and overstood and understood who they were and the assignment that they were on, and understood that your assignment may not look like my assignment, but the frequency is what's recognizable, and it's the frequency, and it's the power, and it's the wisdom, and it's the knowledge that we hold, the consciousness that we carry, that makes us all one with the all. Okay, the divine. All right, and that is very important that this culture today learns that, because I think that they have gotten so far beyond that. That is so sad. I get on TikTok sometimes and I'm scrolling. I'm not really engaging with many people because I'm just still looking around. I get on YouTube and you hear people arguing, or they'll put in a manipulative post like Muslim or Islam, so that they can attract those that are Islamic, only to bring the Islamic in the chat to fuss with them, to tell them why they're wrong. You're wrong. You're not right. You need to go this way, this way. Hey, that is not what it's about. That is not the frequency that we be on. And then you had the monks when they were traveling across the state. You had people out there beating the monks and telling the monks that the monks was wrong for what they were doing. They're praying for the nation. First of all, they already knew. They're in prayer. For one, I'm not messing with a monk. You heard what I'm saying? They are in prayer and meditation daily, in solitude, hearing spirit, seeing, okay, listening, writing. So if spirit told them to walk barefoot at that across the United States, I'm not messing with that. I'm not touching that. You know why? First of all, I'm not doing it. I don't even have the fortitude, the stamina. Let me say that, the stamina, because I got the fortitude. I had enough to pray for them. Yeah, I'm praying with them. But honey, I wasn't walking across the United States of America. I can't do that. But they have it built up in them to do it. And the religious people were out there treating them so horrible. And I know that it hurt the hearts of the monks, who are like, these are the people that we stand and keep the balance for, that we stand and we have dedicated to our life, to keep the balance for. And these people are out here treating us like this. Okay. No, no. Okay. So if like I said, the sky, the seasons of the soul. Okay. Like I said, that's why the prophets and the oracles and the monks and the teachers and the shamans spoke in timing language. Okay. So that they could stay, they understood. And the monks was walking because they understood what is about to occur, and they needed to cover the land. That is so powerful. And for somebody that can't see that, that's too religious to know that that's what's going on. You want to throw a Bible and hit them with a Bible. You want to hit them with a Quran. You want to hit them with whatever. That's just not it. We need to learn that everybody has their assignments. Okay, and there's a frequency and there's unity. Okay, all right. So then the next another phase that the ancients taught was about numerology. Okay, numbers, not just math homework that you learned in school. Okay, how they are archetypal currents. Okay, all right. One source unity, two polarity, three creation, the child born between opposites, four stability, five movement, change the traveler, six harmony, love and responsibility, seven mastery, the seeker, the walker, the mystery. Okay, eight power, affinity, cycles, authority, and nine completion, the order. The elder finishing the lesson, so to speak. Okay, and it goes so beyond that. But we'll get into all of that. Okay, everything in the universe, they understood dances through those rhythms. Okay, that's why it is very important to pay attention to timing, to numbers. Okay, if you keep seeing them pop up, okay, certain sequences, pay attention, understand what they mean. Look into yourself, sit still within yourself, and know the message that spirit is trying to send you. Okay. Okay, birth dates, names, sacred texts, temple measurements, musical scales, all of it is encoded with number intelligence. Okay, and the old world understood that deeply. So I don't understand why people are so wild when it comes to spiritual constructs. Okay, and they think it's a game, and it's not. Okay, this modern culture forgot because people are chasing the information instead of initiation. They don't want to go to the steps. And like I said, when you get to this level, it's talking that I'm talking right now, people drop the ball. It's too much. That's just too much. I got what you mean. And it's not. When you are in flow with spirit, I may be talking a lot, but it's not a lot. You flow and you get the revelation that you should get, and you understand what you should understand. Okay, what's given unto you as you continue to flow. Okay, you may start at one level and then expand, but a lot of people have just jumped from one to two to mountaintop. I don't know how they got up there. They don't even know how they got up there. Okay, got all these followers and don't even know what the number two, the next level, second level was, because now they done made it seem like they are elevated when they're not. You can truly tell that if you really look closer, if you really step back and say, Spirit, just show me and lead me, direct me, you'll really see. Okay, okay. Information fills the mind. Initiation rewires the being who you are. Okay, so all the information that you can read any book. Okay, but that does not mean that you got it or that you are ready to touch and tap into certain constructs. Okay, because you have not yet went through the proper steps of rewiring. Okay, that is why this sanctuary exists. Okay, not to collect spiritual trivia. Okay, we're not doing that. Okay, I'm not here to reshape your perception. Okay, all right, but we want to reshape it spiritually, perception. Okay, we are here to sharpen your integrity, to train your nervous system. Okay, so that when real revelation hits, it doesn't fry you. It doesn't crash you. Okay? All right? You're able to hold the revelation. Okay? When the blessings come, when the manifestation comes, you're not destroying it on your own and then blaming God or blaming spirit or saying it was the devil. You know what I mean? You're able to balance. Okay? So please hear me clear. Okay? I do want to reshape your perception, sharpen your attention, your integrity, and train your nervous system. Okay? Visions without grounding becomes delusional. Okay? It's delusion. Okay? Power without ethics is tyranny. Mysticism alone without discipline, it drives you mad. It just becomes pure madness. That's why you got people out here harming other people, bleeding onto other people. Okay? But when your breath is steady, okay, your spine aligned, and your heart is honest, okay, your mind is humble, then the inner antenna that's what's inside of you, that's built inside of you, okay, begins catching signals that are deeper layers of reality. Okay, your dreams become now your classrooms. Synchronicity starts stacking. Okay, coming together like blocks, like dominoes. Okay, your intuition starts whispering before events even happen. Okay, like I said, I can smell it in the air. And people, what are you talking about? But then it happened, right? Okay, not because you're special, but not because I'm special. Okay, but because the instrument that I have is tuned. Okay, and there's always different levels for us to grow. All right, all right. And the wildest part is this: every ancient lineage, okay, said the same thing, but in a different language. So all this division for what? Okay, the kingdom within, Buddha nature, Atman, divine spark, Christ consciousness. Okay, or the simplest street translation, the light inside you. Okay, you've been waiting. Here, the light is always been there, and you've been waiting. Okay, for you to clean the window of your soul. Finally, freely, truly. Okay, it's time to get the spiritual index out. Okay, all right. So here is a question I throw back into the room. Okay, if the human body is a temple grid, if the spine is a ladder, if the mind is a receiver, if sound builds worlds, if numbers carry intelligence, if stars move physical tide, then what kind of being could a fully trained human actually become? Think about it. Think about that. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. If the human body is a temple, if the spine a ladder, if the mind is a receiver, if the sound builds worlds and numbers carry intelligence, stars move psychological tides, what kind of being could you become as a human? Okay? All right? Because the ancients believed a disciplined, awakened human was the most powerful instrument in the universe. Not gods in the sky, not machines, okay? But a human aligned with truth. Okay? And family, that is exactly what this forge, this laboratory, this sanctuary, okay, that we're trying to manufacture. Living temples, walking suns, okay? Next time we gather, I am going to go a little bit deeper, okay, into what the Easter Star is about. But I do want to just keep flowing here, okay? So we can learn about how to activate our stars, okay? And I do want you to understand, but what I want you to understand next, to continue this conversation, is that the ancient temples they built were not just making religious building structures, okay? So this isn't another made-up school online or anything that I'm giving you out because, baby, if you look at my followers for now, I have like maybe 10 subscribers. You know, I just want these videos to be out here. Whoever catches them, catches them. You know, my soul, I'm not asking you for nothing. You know, my soul feelings and motives are is that people grow. I just see the massive catastrophe within these social media streets. And Spirit has given me the strength to even come out here and do these videos because it takes a lot. Okay? All right? So these weren't just pretty religious buildings that they built. These were structures. They were humans, okay? Now, body diagrams in stone, okay? Whole cities built like nervous system, okay? Obelisk, were spines, sanctuaries were chambers, underground tunnels were subconscious corridors. Okay? Were walking through architectures that was teaching your body how to wake up. Even when Christ walked, he didn't say worship me, but was just teaching you through structure. Okay? And I always go back to Kemet because that's a lot where everything originated. Okay? We know brown, us, where we come from. Okay? Where the first humans came from. Okay? They knew this. Babylon knew it. Hebrews knew it. The Mayan astrologer, priest knew it. Okay? Even the earliest desert mystics around the Dead Sea, they knew it. Okay? But here's the part that most history books ain't brave enough to say. Okay? The real temple was never a building. The temple was you. The star was you. The building was a training simulator. Okay? But we live in this world, which is a simulation within itself. Okay? Because the human vessel carries the primary currents. The old entities studied like engineers. Okay? The first current is the serpent fire. Some traditions call it the kundalini, and that's when we talk about the 33 vertebrae. Okay? All right? In Kemet, they symbolized it with Uranus, the cobra rising from the head of the pharaoh. Okay? In Hebrew mysticism, it hides in the story of Moses lifting the serpent within the wilderness. In Western Africa, initiating language. Okay? It is the ancestor fire of the spine. Okay? So you see it everywhere. It's not a new concept. Okay? You see people catch fire even in the church house when they start dancing it and feeling it, but they don't know how to contain it. They just flow with it. That's why a lot of them just don't change. They don't get what they're supposed to get. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? It was the same current, just a different dialect. Okay? This current sleeps at the base of your spine. Okay? Like a patient dragon, not evil, not dangerous by nature, but powerful. When the vessel is unstable and somebody tries to force it to awake, chaos hits the system. Emotions spike, ego inflates. Sound familiar? Illusions multiply. Okay? This is why the mystery schools took years preparing the body before they were even allowed to touch the fire. No, 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 no. Because they want to make sure you had what it takes to contain, to hold, to sustain. Because this level of spirituality that I'm going to teach you and embark on will drive you crazy and insane if it's not grounded. Okay? When your vessel is clean, okay? Your breath balanced, your mind disciplined, your heart honest, the serpent rises smooth and warm. Okay? Because Spirit the Divine knows what's in you and what needs to be pushed, and what, be it childhood trauma, be it abuse, be it rejection, be it doubt, be it anything that's disturbing your spirit. It knows when to push it, when to move it, when to stay, when to rise and just keep the fluids at what level it needs to be. And each vertebrae becomes a rung. Okay? And then the current climbs. And as it climbs, perception expands, creativity explodes, your intuition sharpens. Okay? The human in you stops living from survival and starts living from presence. But it's not something that happens overnight. Okay? Then you have the solar current. So we're going to learn about that. Okay? And this one sits in the heart and brain, the sun code. Okay? This is the Christ current, the Buddha light, the Tiferet throne, the golden intelligence that harmonizes all other forces. Okay? And when the solar current is awake, the human stops operating from your ego identity and you begin moving from compassion and clarity. Okay? This is the real meaning. That is the real meaning of Christ consciousness. Not a church label, not a frequency tag, new fad of being. Okay? When Yeshua walked the earth, he was demonstrating a human body operating through the solar current, calm in storms, fearless in front of empires, forgiving while being executed. Okay? That level of inner sovereignty terrifies systems that has been built on fear. That's why they keep everything in your ear, always a conspiracy, always something to distract you. Okay? Then you go into the lunar current. All right? And this flows through the subconscious, the dream body of the waters of emotions. Okay? The moon in astrology rules it. The ancients knew dreams were not random brain noise. Dreams are the subconscious reorganizers. Okay? Reorganizing reality. Okay? Message from deeper layers within the mind. Okay? Even ancestral memory. And if the lunar current is chaotic, baby, that person lives in confusion, mood swings, projection, illusion. They're bleeding on the other foot, and you can see it. They can't hide it. They can mask it for a little while, but honey, it's going to come out. Okay? And if the lunar current is balanced, dreams become guiding maps. You're more in tune. Okay? Prophets train dreams, literacy, like pilots train instruments. Okay? Joseph did it in the Hebrew text. Daniel did it in the canon of scripture, if you read that. Indigenous shamans still do it. Okay? That live over in the Amazon. Okay? There's people in Africa, African tribes that are still ancient tribes, and tribes in islands that we don't even know that, honey, that ain't even touched yet. And they still follow these same teachings. Okay? 3 currents. Serpent fire in the spine. solar intelligence in the heart, and lunar mirror in the subconscious. When those three currents synchronize, the human instrument becomes something very rare. Okay? This is why the ancients called, and this is what they called illumination. Not blowing halos floating off the ground, but clarity, fearless compassion, and precise perception. Okay? A person like that can't easily be manipulated by propaganda, fear, or the programming that's out here. Okay? Because their inner compass is calibrated. Okay? You won't be sitting here clicking on different lives and giving donations to a bunch of people that really don't have what it takes. Okay? They just here getting your money. They just got your money and duped you. They just conned you. Okay? Now let me go a little bit deeper than most teachers are willing to go. Okay? Because I'm not most. My goal is to come out here to help the collective. Okay? Once those currents are balanced, something else begins to activate it. Okay? The witness. Your 8 point of your star. Okay? Okay, remember I said the Eastern Star holds 7 points in the body, and when I talked in the video for the Eastern Star, okay, I mean the esoteric Eastern Star, not this mundane in the West Eastern Star. I mean the original Eastern Star, okay, and the 8th point, beyond them, that is you. The 8th point is the observer of your consciousness, okay, all right, that part of you that can watch thoughts without becoming them, watch emotions without drowning in them, watch identity without being trapped within it. Okay, the witness is the throne of the soul. And in Hebrew mysticism, okay, in ancient Kemetic knowledge, it connects to the seraphim called the Dayat. It's a hidden path that flows throughout your body. Okay, it's a hidden knowledge gate, not always drawn in your tree. Okay, because it appears only when your lower and upper worlds align. Okay, when the connectivity connects. Okay, and when the gate opens, a human begins to experience reality very differently. Okay, you don't do the things, talk the same, walk the same. Okay, your synchronicities begin to increase. Time and perception stretches. Okay, intuition becomes very immediate. Oh my God, it's quick, it's fierce. And sometimes you have to learn. You have to learn. Not sometimes. We always have to learn your wisdom, when to speak and when to be quiet. Because I'm telling you, it comes. Okay, not just supernatural, not supernatural, just deeper awareness of power patterns. Okay, begin to awaken within you. The world becomes very transparent. You start seeing the machinery behind events. Now let me speak a truth that might shake you guys a little bit. Most civilizations collapsed, not because enemies destroyed them. They collapsed because they forgot how to train their consciousness. Okay? And if you look into history, his story, you will see that. You will recognize that. Okay? When society stops producing disciplined, wise humans, the loudest ego in the room starts leading the crowd. Let me say that again. When society stops producing disciplined, wise humans, the loudest ego, the king, the president, okay, the voice, the money, the power, starts leading the crowd. Then the corruption spreads. Then the fear spreads. Then the greed spreads. Okay, then the empires rot from the inside out. Okay, this is why the mystery schools always operated quietly behind the scenes. So this isn't loud. I'm not advertising it. All this. Whoever finds this space finds it. Whoever comes in this space comes in, because that means you were drawn and you were meant to be here. Okay. We operate behind the scenes, and they operated behind the scenes. Okay, they were not trying to control society. They were trying to stabilize it. Just like those monks walking across the United States, or spending day in and day out all across the globe. Monks everywhere, in mountains, in orders. We have nuns and people that spend their time in prayer to keep the balance. And then you got religious folks out here saying they keeping the balance, but it's nothing but a bunch of ego, fear tactics, control, greed, money, performance, antics. Feel me? And I'm trying to go as slow as possible so that I can get all of this out. Okay? Listen, a handful of clear-minded, disciplined humans can prevent chaos from swallowing whole communities. That's why I teach, even my children, I teach people, hey, pray about your atmosphere, where you're at, the province that you live in, right? Those spirits that hover over the area that you live in, okay? And even as I pray, Spirit will have me jump over into China, over into different parts of the world to even pray into, I've walked in my dreams and have met people in those constructs and prayed. You understand what I'm saying? You connect to different frequencies, okay? That is the hidden purpose of initiation. Are you willing to go, for one? Are you going to allow the kundalini or the purpose and the spheres to rise within you and then just stop because it gets too heavy for you? Are you doing this for show? Okay, you need some personal enlightenment trophies out here. Okay, because that's not what we're doing. We're not doing it for any personal enlightenment trophies. Okay, stewardship, responsibility, guardianship of balance. Okay, that's why we're doing it. That's why we're here. That's why we need to flow, because this is a serious walk. It's not about just flipping a card or can I channel and go into somebody's energy. Oh, you got the ability to channel and go into somebody's energy, but should you? All that, should you? Okay? Do you really know what you're talking about when you flip the card? Are you really connecting to that person and drawing them in? Are you really speaking to them, or you just read the back of the tarot card and this is what it generally means, and this is what it means for that person? Can you actually pick up and hear and see? Okay? Look around the planet. Information is everywhere. Wisdom is almost nowhere to be found. And it's so sad. Okay? Everybody is broadcasting their opinions. Very few people are training perception. Everybody is chasing influence. And very few people are mastering themselves. Okay? So the question is not whether the ancient knowledge is interesting. The real question is, who is willing to actually do the work? Because awakening sounds poetic until it starts stripping that illusion out of your life, until it forces you to face your shadow, your ego addictions, okay? Your inherited trauma, your emotional patterns, your fear of truth, okay? All right? It starts to deconstruct you, okay? That part is not glamorous. It's not pretty. But that part is where the real gold is hidden, okay? We talk about the gold at the end of the rainbow. That's just where it's at, okay? And alchemy always begins with the lead, okay? The lead. And I said it that way for a reason, L-E-A-D. It is the lead component, the lead. So family, let me ask something that only you can answer honestly. If the sanctuary is truly a laboratory, if the body is truly a temple grid, if the spine is truly a ladder, if the mind is truly a receiver, if the heart is truly the sun, then what actually, okay, what exactly have you been trained to do? Okay? You've been trained in this world to forget who you are. Okay? What in this world has trained you to forget yourself? Okay, so now you're at a space where you're confused and you can't find God. You feel like you don't know anything spiritual or even natural. Okay? And that's why a lot of people unalive themselves. Because they've lost so much and it's hard for them to recover. It's too much. Okay? So more importantly, I ask, are you ready to remember it? Okay? Are you ready to remember that the sanctuary is a laboratory? Your body is a temple grid. Your spine is a ladder. And that your mind is a receiver. And that your heart is a sun. Are you ready for that? Because the deeper that we go from here, okay, the more that the illusion is going to start cracking. Okay? So you got to be ready for it. Okay? But I want to take you on a journey. I'm not just going to put, and even if you read my books that I have and go into my profile, I take you on a journey. I do not put anything out here that's going to trip people, have them stumbling and doing things that they want, that they don't know nothing about. Okay? All right? Okay? So that you can learn how to see the machinery behind the curtain. Okay? And then once you see it, you can't unsee it. Okay? You can't just manipulate it and tell it to do what you want to do. You can't fake it. Oh, no, 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 no. You're held accountable. Okay? And a lot of these people that's out here perpetrating a fraud are going to be held accountable. You're going to start seeing the delusion and the craziness and the madness. Okay? Yeah. Okay? Before books, before temples, before scriptures carved into stone, the first technology humans ever had was breath. Not religion, not language, breath. Every prophet, every mystic, every shaman, every desert monk, every forest, root worker, Sufi, okay? All of them started at the same doorway. So don't matter what part of life or what construct you, this is for everybody. Because there's principles. They met at the same doorway. Okay? Breath regulation is very important because the breath is the steering wheel of the nervous system. When breath is out of line, when it's chaotic, the mind is a storm. Okay? Your emotions jump all over the place. Okay? And the body goes into now survival mode. I'm an asthmatic, so I know what that feels like naturally. Okay? This is why modern life got folks out here anxious, angry, exhausted, scrolling themselves into spiritual amnesia. This is going from the next to the next. The short breath, the shallow breath, the fragmented attention seekings. Okay? The ancients knew that was the fastest way to weaken the consciousness. Okay? So they revised it. Slow breath, deep breath, rhythm breath. Because society will have you forget who you are. Society will have you lose focus of what you've came here to do. When the breath slows, the vagus nerve activates. Okay? The heart rhythm stabilizes. The brain stops fighting all those panic systems and signals. And then your perception sharpens. Like somebody just came and feather dusted you. Okay? This is why the mystics, the prophets, the shamans, the monks, those enlightened beings went into caves. Alone, solitude, silence plus breath equals clarity. Okay? Now here's a secret layer most people will never hear. Breath moves sound. Sound moves structure. Structure becomes reality. This is why the first line of creation story always sound the same across many cultures. In the beginning was the word. Not a grammar word, a vibration, a tone, a frequency, a wave that organizes chaos into form. The Hebrews called it Dabar of Yahweh, or the Dabar of Yahweh, or the Dabar of Jehovah, Yehovah. The Vedic sages called it one of the highest frequencies. The Egyptians alone encoded it into their sacred practices, okay, to teach you how the frequency moved within itself. Okay, they encoded it into sacred chanting inside the temples. Okay, the Sufi spin it and chant and divine names until the body enters harmonic resonance. West Africans, they use it in the drum, the sound, the heartbeat, the synchronicities. Okay, different cultures, same science. Sound recognizes consciousness. Okay, I have so much more to teach you. This is the second video. Okay, I'm going to come out here with video 3 soon. Maybe not tonight. I did a couple videos today. Okay, and we're going to go back into this conversation, and we're going to go further. And after I explain and we explore what the ancients taught and what certain concepts mean and how to gradually grow, okay, we are going to get into some practices that align with our breath and our stillness and our helping our nervous systems to settle and to move. Okay, all right. This some of the great carriers of wisdom into the room are going. Okay, and I tried to be as slow as possible with you guys today to move us into this laboratory, the Aetherion sanctuary. Okay, so that we can grow together, learn together. And I'm not coming out here with ego, okay, at all. But I will say this. These tools I have, I tell my children this all the time. I say, listen, I know how, especially when it was kind of learning, I know how to read. What's 4 plus 4? And you teach them on their fingers, you teach them different concepts, and they just won't get it. They just don't want, they want to be stubborn. That's what it was, because they could get it. But I tell them, I say, I got the tools. I got a diploma. I graduated. I have degrees. Okay? I have the knowledge, and I know how to apply it. You are the one that need the knowledge. Okay? And I am not too proud to say I have a spiritual mama who we meet, me and her meet once a month, and me and her, we talk all the time, but we meet in a enlightened atmosphere once a month where we minister to each other. We strengthen each other. Okay? So we all need that unity together, that movement together. Okay? All right? It is very important that we flow together, especially in what's coming in this season and beyond, these years to come. We're in 2026. Baby, the world is going to go haywire. It is up to you to get better, to get powerful, to gain the connection with the divine, so that you're not out here twiddling your fingers. Because a lot of people that's out here saying that they are spiritually attuned and enlightened, baby, when push comes to shove, you're going to see them run for the hills, but not you. Okay? So for everybody that is welcomed in this room, welcome you again. Look out for the third video because it is on its way, most likely in the next few days. Okay? I'll let these 2 videos sit. I don't want to give out too much at too fast. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? So grace and peace. Aho. Enjoy the rest of your day. Praise me. Ashe. Ashe. Strengthen your posture. Your rising day. Ashe.